Hello everyone, James Donaldson here, and I'm doing a video on my Budget DMR build. Now, when I say budget, it is budget, and I'll explain some of that. Now, it's not budget in terms of cheap, but I had to budget certain things, and I was willing to not worry about costs so much in some places, or I went for more of a middle of the road versus going for the top end, and maybe I went for something lower end and saved money on one aspect of it so I could afford something middle end or even higher tier in other places. So I'm going to kind of walk through, because I think that the AR-10 realm is just crazy. I don't think anyone's done a good job executing it. So I want to kind of give my thoughts on the little experience I've had versus things I've heard, and kind of go from there. So let's get into my Budget DMR build. So for starters, I went with a Sig Sauer 716i tread, which was recently discontinued, thanks Sig. That said, there's plenty of them out there on the market to find, and maybe you'll find some used at some point. But it is a great gun so far. A few hundred rounds through it, mostly bench rest, and done a little bit of some range work as far as, you know, faster acquisitions, things like that. It's so far tending to prefer the heavier grains, but looking at it, the reason I went with it is I was able to get it for, or we were able to get it for $1,200, which for a 308 of this caliber, no pun intended, is really good. Really, the only thing on par with it was the Smith & Wesson M&P 10, and really what it came down to was I was going to replace fewer parts the gun comes with by going with the Sig. Also, I think it just looked better, which wasn't the highest criteria, but it was an added thing to making that decision. Now, the things I replaced, basically the stock, which we'll talk about, and then also the charging handle, because this is ambidextrous and just more comfortable, and the other one was some bullshit AR-10 standard charging handle, which I think it should just come with this, even if it means they raise the price. Worth it 100%, because that other thing sucks. So anyway, but looking at it, the weight was good. I like that it's a 16-inch barrel. I know ideally some are going to be longer. H&K's is 16-inch, some others 16-inch. I think it's fine. I looked at all kinds of Palmetto 308s, and just seeing that you're going to have some issues with them, and that's fine, because that's where they're priced. They're priced at a place where there's going to be some tuning, some finicky stuff, and stuff that just, like adjustable gas block on that M110 clone. I was very close to getting that, but it's good for a clone, but I mean, I want an adjustable stock. So that's kind of why that was out. Some of those other ones, there just wasn't enough data on them for me to figure out if it's really the gun in terms of reliability that I'm going to want, or even accuracy. There's just not enough testing that I've been able to see. I'm not saying they're not as good as this. They might be just as good, but this is the purchase out of all the ones that made sense. SCAR didn't make sense, too expensive. HK's MR762, too expensive, although, God, I'd love one. Now the A4 is out, and it's about the same weight as this, or close to it. Whereas the A1, definitely heavier, and so that was also factored in. The HK being heavier, okay, I don't want it. The Spear, by many accounts, seems to just kind of be a heaping, overpriced piece of shit, which is a really bold statement, considering I haven't fired one, but I know a guy that works at an ammo plant where they have them to develop the ammo, and he didn't have a lot of good things to say. Plus, just renowned, like, they don't take PMags well? What? Anyway, not trying to rant on the Spear LT and engineering shortcomings, but obviously a lot of factors went into selecting the Sig 716i as the gun I was going to go with. Now, from there, outfitting it is the next part. So we're going to start at the back, the stock. This is the B5 Systems stock. I don't remember what name. I'll roll it in up here or something. But it was less expensive by a lot than some of the other ones, and some of the other ones aren't adjustable. This one is. It just got more features, and I know I can trust the B5 name is the other thing. So it's not like I got it cheap. I would say inexpensive. And so this was a really good buy. And so the way the Sig 716 comes, I would say it's basically configured as a battle rifle. They give you a not great Magpul stock with it. Surprise, surprise. That was my dog, sorry. And so, even if I was going to use this as a battle rifle, which this would be very good at, it just, it wasn't going to cover that base with that stock. So the stock was the other thing that I was going to replace. Now the MMP was going to have way more things, I don't say way more, some more things to replace, just more money that I don't need to spend. So I will say, so I sold cars years and years ago. And when I was selling Infinities, that JX came out, which is now the QX60, and just a lot of people were trading in Enclaves to get this car. And I guess the Enclave is just the bee's knees of that type of need and that type of car. And I would say it's probably still accurate to this day. But what was so weird was they were incredibly reliable, as far as I could tell. The features were good, they were easy to, it was like a Japanese car manufacturer made the Buick Enclave and not Buick and GM. It was amazing. So it almost is like Sig didn't even make this gun. If you compare it to their trends that they have going with a lot of other firearms they're manufacturing, this is very much not like any of those. It's lightweight. It's simple. It's not piston. It's, just the list goes on. But and it seems to have, they've kind of hit the sweet spot of the right amount of interchangeability with the AR-10 platform versus proprietary stuff. And from what I'm seeing, you're just not going to get a not proprietary AR-10, especially ones that runs well. I didn't want an adjustable gas block. It doesn't have an adjustable gas block. So all kinds of good stuff have come out of that. Now, moving on, I like the grip. Not going to change that. Trigger, I think, is better than good enough, so that's great too. So moving on from there, let's get up to the Sling. Blue Force Gear, Vickers Tactical Sling, pretty much the only slings I buy. And of course it's retained by one of the TRX low retention things, and I like that quite a lot. So I like the pull tab, Blue Force Gear, simple sling, great. Bipod, this is one of the things that makes it budget. So no, I did not get a cheap Magpul one. I got a Harris bipod because I love them. But I do recognize that something like an Atlas is better in terms of features. Okay, well, they're like $600 or $700. Plus, at that point, I'd probably want a $100 ARCA rail on the bottom. So I'm saving $100 by not having an ARCA rail. I'm also saving several $100s by having less expensive bipod, but still good bipod. And that takes us to the scope. It's a Night Force NX8 4-32, and I do have a T2 on top. Now, I had the T2, so I didn't necessarily go out and spend more money, but obviously to create this, the T2 is expensive. I wanted robustness with the optic, and I wanted good glass, good zoom, all that. And so the NX8 line, it's not an ATACR. I thought about trying to get an ATACR. This is well less expensive, and so I went with the NX8 4-32. I also like that it goes as low as 4 and up to 32. Tremor 3 reticle, and then, as I said, T2 on top for night vision. But also, probably my favorite thing about having a top dot is that when I am aiming, I can look through the dot. I have my full field of view, get to about where I want to be, and just drop my head into the scope. I have a Badger mount. They're not the most expensive. They're not the least expensive, but I do think they are among the best, if not the best. So, going from there, we get to the front end, the suppressor. So, I mentioned this in my suppressor video, but I wanted a flow-through suppressor because I've heard this gun is very gassy for reliability reasons. So, I wanted a flow-through. Well, I also don't want titanium because this is a DMR and I don't want the sparking, something that is giving away a signature and giving away a location. So that brought it down to basically CAT, which I want more knowledge, like I want more to be out there about them before I invest in that. Hux works. I love the idea of the 7.62 flow. However, it's only in titanium, so that's a no-go. So then that brings us to the Sig SLX suppressor. I know it's in the thing, but I'll roll in pictures. But basically, it also has the taper, which matches the barrel of the 716i, which I do think is the proper way to have a threaded barrel, have one with a taper. There's just not a lot that do that. So that mated really well, and other than it, it's interesting, my CGS has never tried to walk off any gun it's been on, which has really only been SIG's, MCX Virtus and this 716i. But the SLX has kind of tried to walk off a couple times. Not by a lot, but it has, so it's kind of interesting to me. I think at the end of the day, if it wasn't titanium, I would have gone with the flow, for what that's worth. But, yeah, that's basically it. Not a lot to it. So far I'm liking it. There will be a full review on this gun. Not a review. There will be a video on this gun. I don't think I have the authority to be reviewing things, but an analysis. There will be a video analysis on this gun for sure in time. And I will say, if I didn't already mention it, this gun is preferring heavier grains, I've noticed, which, I mean, it's not good or bad, it just is. So I did the paint job myself. It's okay, but spray painting it yourself, it's going to be okay, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be great. So thank you for watching. This has been James Donaldson with the Contemporary Gentleman, and until next time, keep your composure.